Imagine yourself walking through a dense forest at dawn. The air is fresh, filled with the aroma of damp earth and dewy leaves, but your feet feel as if they are shackled by invisible chains. With each step you try to take, these chains pull you back, limiting your movements and preventing you from fully enjoying the sound of the birds, the whisper of the wind, and the soft glow of sunlight filtering through the treetops. These chains, unseen yet heavy, represent the burdens of the past, regrets that were never resolved, hurts that still echo in your mind, fears that continue to dictate your actions. They are not made of iron or steel, but of memories and emotions you carry as a constant weight. Now stop and ask yourself, how many times have you found yourself reliving a painful moment, as if stuck in an endless loop of thoughts? Whether it's a mistake you made and cannot forgive yourself for, or something someone did to you that still stings, these memories seem to replay like a scratched record. However, the forest around you offers an important lesson if you are willing to listen. When you pause and take a deep breath, you realize that these chains are not real. They have no existence outside your mind, but they are fueled by stories you tell yourself over and over again. The past is not a place we can revisit, but a construct we carry in memory. What if, instead of fighting against these chains, you could learn to release them? What if you could accept that the past does not define who you are now, but only who you were? There was once a young man named Haruto who lived in a small village at the foot of a majestic mountain shrouded in clouds. Haruto was known for his extraordinary talent in wood carving, transforming simple logs into works of art that seemed alive. Yet, despite his gift, Haruto rarely smiled. His heart was heavy, and his mind was constantly haunted by a mistake from his past. Years ago, in a moment of uncontrollable anger, he had shattered his master's favorite sculpture, a man he deeply respected. Although the master had forgiven him without hesitation, Haruto had never forgiven himself. He carried this guilt like a permanent shadow, believing he would never be worthy of his craft. One day, while carving by a stream, Haruto was visited by a monk who was passing through the village. The monk, with his calm posture and piercing gaze, observed the young craftsman in silence for a long time before asking, "Why do you seem so burdened, young artisan? What weighs so heavily on your soul?" Haruto sighed deeply and replied, "I carry a mistake I cannot erase. Even when I try to move forward, the memory returns to remind me of who I was, and I cannot free myself from it." The monk smiled gently and pointed to the stream. Have you ever noticed that water never stays in the same place? Even if we try to hold it in our hands, it slips away. Yet we live as if we could grasp every drop. In the days that followed, the monk and Haruto spent much time together, talking under the shade of trees and walking through the village fields. One cold morning, the monk invited Haruto to climb the mountain with him. At the top, gazing at a seemingly infinite landscape, the monk shared his own story. He revealed that, before becoming a monk, he had been a warrior who lost his family in a devastating war. For years, he had been consumed by hatred and grief, believing his life had ended along with those he loved. But over time, he realized he was living in a prison constructed by his own mind. The monk then offered a simple yet profound teaching. The only way to let go of the past is to embrace it without fear. Acknowledge what happened, but understand that you are no longer that person. Just as this mountain is constantly changing, so are we. The first lesson Haruto absorbed from the monk was about impermanence. Everything in life is in constant flux, the monk explained with a serene smile. Just as the seasons come and go, our experiences, emotions, and even our identities are always transforming. Clinging to the past is like trying to hold melting snow in your hands. You can try as much as you want, but you will never keep it. In the modern world, this teaching is incredibly relevant. How often do we hold on to something that has already passed? A relationship that ended but still hurts? An opportunity we missed and now haunts us? We remain trapped in the illusion that we could have done something differently, ignoring that the present is the only moment that truly exists. Another essential lesson the monk shared was about silence. To Haruto, it seemed incomprehensible that the monk would spend hours in meditation without saying a word. "Why remain silent when there's so much to resolve?" the young man asked curiously. The monk calmly replied, "It is in silence that you hear what truly matters. The answers are not in the noise of the mind, but in the space between thoughts." This teaching holds great power in our modern routines, where we are constantly surrounded by noise. Imagine turning off your phone for a few minutes just to listen to the sound of your own breath. This simple pause can reveal emotions you've been trying to ignore, like fear or sadness, allowing them to be processed and finally released. Haruto also learned about inner reflection. Just as a still lake reflects the sky only when it is calm, your true essence appears only when you find peace within yourself, the monk explained. Inspired by this idea, Haruto began to see his sculptures differently. He realized he didn't need to seek perfection in every piece, but rather express his journey through them. In practical life, this teaching reminds us that our flaws and mistakes are parts of who we are, but they do not define us. We can start with something simple. At the end of each day, write down one thing you did that you're proud of, and something you wish to improve. This small act of reflection is the first step toward freeing yourself from the emotional chains that bind you. Throughout this journey, Haruto discovered that letting go of the past does not mean erasing memories or denying what happened. It means accepting that every experience, no matter how painful, is an essential part of the story that brought you to this moment. He understood that the past doesn't have to be an unbearable weight, but can become a source of learning and growth. By accepting impermanence, he began to value the present as a gift, a unique moment to be lived fully. And now, ask yourself, what chains from the past are you still carrying? A mistake you cannot forgive yourself for? A hurt that still stings? The first step to freedom is recognizing these chains and then reminding yourself that you have the power to release them. If you felt that these lessons resonated deeply with you, share this message with someone who could benefit from it. And if you wish to continue exploring more Zen and Buddhist teachings, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next videos. Together we can create a space for learning, reflection, and growth.